Welcome to the very first episode of the Tennis Underground, episode 2, or episode 0, depending if you're talking mathematics and engineering or not. But let's call it episode 1 because most of you guys are normies. Well, you guys are probably incels, but episode 1. Today, my guest is Eric, who is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for almost a decade now, right? Obviously, you're a tennis player.
Probably, because I graduated in 2014. I met you like my junior year, so it's been more.
Yeah, Waukesha, Higher Park,
Yep.
Pockets. We got to play that with our buddies.
Oh my god. Andy would kill all of us.
Andy's length is like, his arm span is like literally 75% of the court at the baseline. It's insane. So Eric is a Division III athlete, tennis, obviously. Why don't you give us a little background about your tennis career pre-high school, high school, college, and then a little bit of post-college?
Sure. So the whole reason I got into tennis, I didn't have like parents who played. It's actually kind of stupid, to be honest. I really liked the game Mario Tennis.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't think you told me this story.
No, probably not.
Okay.
I'm saving it for the masses.
The podcast.
No, I really liked that game. And then my sister had been taking lessons in South Milwaukee. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
And so I started taking lessons. I didn't start playing until I was like 11, which I don't know. It seems to be give or take, but like so many kids start like 4 or whatever.
The first Mario Tennis, right? Is that game?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's probably honestly the most like accurate tennis game out there.
Have you? Did you have a specific character that you played?
Yeah, I was kind of a gym and just played Mario.
Okay.
I mean, really, if you were a D-bag in that game, you played Baby Mario because he didn't have a forehand. He just hit overheads.
My Short Kings Unite.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite from I only played the first Mario Tennis was Boo Lefty.
Yeah, that was
cheese.
yes. Because he's horrible, but it's like, oh, my slice can also make it a complete U every single time. But so I was taking lessons, and I really only did it in the summer, and I did things the wrong way, where like I could hit some flashy shots, but like I had the consistency of a thunderstorm.
Were net tapes a problem for you even back then?
So here's why I think the net tape is a problem for me. So we had one of the first drills I did once we actually started hitting balls was my first coach told me, aim for the net tape as a reference point.
What? As a reference point.
Yes.
Not aim for the net tape.
And
period.
being an engineer, obviously I took that literally because binary beep boop mine. So I think I just grew so accustomed to it for like the entirety of like my pre-high school tennis playing that now it never left me.
It's a running meme between me, Chris, who's obviously been featured not only in the channel, but also on this podcast, that every time Eric hits the net cord, it's the world is going against you. Why me? Why me? Why me? Because it does happen quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's some Illuminati-esque thing happening to me with the net tape. I mean, I actually got to the point where I looked up who invented the net tape, and I started, like, you know how, like, for a while on Wikipedia, people could just, like, post whatever?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There used to be an article about me back in high school. It was very cringe. I didn't write it.
I at the end of the intro of, like, the guy who invented the net tape, I just put, this guy sucks. It's clean and simple. But, yeah, so I really only played seasonally. I was a 3-sport athlete. And
Basketball, soccer?
Yeah, soccer up until my senior year, and then I played volleyball, which I wish I would have played volleyball much earlier.
Okay.
And then I started varsity at South Milwaukee. That is
As a freshman.
Yeah,
Nice.
Not a tennis powerhouse by any means, and it carried over to where it's like, yeah, my strokes were pretty, but like if I had to construct a point longer than 3 shots, it was over. So I remember my first match was Franklin, who has had top tier talent in the past, but generally they're known for having very solid, deep teams like them and Greendale. They play at that Village Club near
Village
Southbridge
Club,
Mall.
and then indoors maybe Princeton, I believe.
Well, and before it closed down, Moreland.
Oh yeah. Because it's right
RIP.
there. Yeah. Rip.
Yeah. So I got 0-0'd my my first high school match. And I was
What position did you play?
I was playing four singles. I was
I mean, that's good but it's not like overbearing.
no,
right?
I mean, I honestly I was not any good in high school. And then it was like I think I went 4-3 because like most of the seniors returned.
Yep.
Or I should say they became seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And then my junior year I played one, and that's when I started actually taking like serious like year-round lessons. And well, you've met him, Scott Cornell's
Yep.
was my teacher.
Monster. He's what, 70?
He's I think he's 66, and
Okay.
I saw him a couple weeks ago. He's still giving lessons and running around. The guy's an animal.
Racine, not Kenosha. Okay.
Yeah, Racine Tennis
Yep.
Club, and he really opened my eyes because for a while it was tweak this on your forehand and like all these little minor techniques. You know, it's like when you're learning golf or something like that, and you watch a video and you're convinced, this is what's going to take me from shanking it into the woods to painting the fairway at 260 every time. And you just realize that it's like, it doesn't so much come down to all these technical nuances because all these videos of, when you get a feed, it's perfectly awesome. But it's like, how do you adjust to non-opportune balls essentially in tennis? And Scott had a completely different philosophy. The first thing he does with a new student is he plays them in a match.
Does he go all out?
Depending on the skill level.
Okay. So he probably took it to you at 80% as a junior in college or high school. Sorry.
Probably. And, as is the motif of my tennis career so far, he destroyed me.
Beautiful.
Because his strength is finding your weakness.
Yes. Let me, as a tennis coach with a new client, let me just double bagel you and hope that you come back.
Well, and
it worked.
Yeah, right. Well, and basically what he does is he just, rather than having you tell him what you're bad at, because like a lot of times in tennis, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. There's the four squares. You know what you know. You know what you don't know.
You know what you don't know?
You know what you know. Whatever.
I think you should stick to playing Foursquare at recess.
I was not good at that, but you can you repeat what you said about not the Foursquare, but you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
And that forget tennis. Anything.
Business, life, relationships.
Exactly. When you don't know what you don't know, it can lead to, not being successful at something. So,
sure. And it's obviously a lot better to know what you don't know because at least you know your own ignorance.
Right. You have goals.
Yep.
That's the whole concept of goals is knowing what you don't know or can't do or yet or what have you. Mm-hmm. So he did that. He was bad at, and he's like, I'm not really looking to change anything technical with you. You need to learn how to play a match because, growing up it was just play king of the court. That was it.
So 2 points and you're over.
Yeah, right. And even then, it's like, I lost 40 points in a row, and the kid that keeps the ball in the court's been over there all day.
Oh, the push.
Yeah, right. So he really started to elevate my game. I would say by the time I was a senior in high school, I still wasn't very good. I was like fringe state level.
Okay.
Like all my best matches were still losses. Like I played a guy at a Kenosha tournament that he played for Kenosha Bradford that he ended up being seated at state. And
that's the sister or brother school to Kenosha Tremper, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit smaller. Tremper's been historically better, but
yeah.
I lost to him like 4 and 6, and everyone's like,
he was
cool.
a seed?
Yeah, he ended up, I think his like junior and senior year at state, he was seated at least top 12, I think.
16 or 12? I thought it was like
they had 16, but I'm saying I believe he was top 12. Like,
I think now it's like there's 1 through 8 seed like slotted, and then it's 9 through 16 is like a general just
right.
Cool.
They just puke them wherever.
Yeah. Okay. So back then they actually
So, and honestly, I would say one of the main reasons I wasn't improving as much is tennis is very much about the company you keep, and not to throw shade, but like.
South Milwaukee.
South Milwaukee was not a tennis
Yeah.
high school. It's not like you're playing for Brookfield East or Greendale, or basically you just need people who are as interested in the sport as you are. And I did not have that. So I got very accustomed to winning a point after 1 or 2 shots. And basically, Scott's mission was to break me of because it's like, oh, the point's not over yet. I must be doing something wrong. It can't be that the other person on the side of the net is actually good at the sport as well. So I would say we'll fast forward to once I got to MSOE.
Which is a great engineering school for mechanical, electrical, computer science, software engineering.
Yep.
What else are you guys known for in the engineering school?
Well, their civil department has really took off. It's newer. I think it's
Civil?
It's kind of intertwined with the architectural engineering department, which is what I did.
Yeah.
They have nursing. Hey, careful. That's where the wife went.
No, but like it's just weird because it's MSOE, Milwaukee School of Engineering,
Well, now it's MSO University.
which is even more confusing.
School of University.
So why?
So actually, there's a story behind why MSO.
It used to be just engineering, right? And they
Correct.
expanded.
They used to have a downtown Milwaukee nursing college.
And they
Then they merged because I believe the nursing college went away. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Somehow the MSOE enveloped nursing because the school was in the close proximity to it. And it's like, you think about it at the end of the day, I mean, nurses and I think it's like biomedical, like a lot of them, they have overlapping courses. Like that, in a sense, it is some sort of bioengineering. You're taking chemistry, you're taking physics.
Well, it's also the philosophy that the human body is engineered a certain way through evolution and biology to where there's different parts, different systems that interact with each other. So there is some overlap, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, tell me that as a nurse, you're not running diagnostics.
You are.
Exactly.
My
It's just on a human with a boo-boo instead of a
But-
code that's not working.
Unlike typical engineers and software engineers, nurses have to have TikToks nowadays. And they do dances.
I would be lying if I said my wife did not have one. She's actually gotten a couple thousand views on a couple of hers.
So as her patient is dying, she's doing a dance.
Oh God, no.
Is she one of those?
No, she's actually very interested in. Basically, her philosophy behind her TikToks is I don't want to call it tips and tricks, but basically things that she wished that she knew when she was a new nurse.
What type of nurse is she?
Well, she's bounced around a little bit, but right now
She doesn't have a specialty or anything?
well, she's cardiac ICU.
okay.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, away from nursing.
Yeah, right. So MSOE now, and this is where my game was able to take off because it goes back to that company you keep.
Yep. So you chose MSOE for your degree, your college education.
So it was between MSOE and Marquette. I could get into both, but like I knew a guy that I think he was the same age as me, and he was much better than I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him, and he said that he was told that he would not be starting at Marquette maybe by the time he was a junior, senior. I'm like, well, this dude can't. I'd have minimal chance. So honestly, it came down to they're both very good schools for engineering, but one of them had a little bit of a small feel, which I like personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like my biggest class was like 32 students at MSOE.
That's not bad at all. In
No,
Whitewater,
versus like the lecture halls of Marquette.
Whitewater is bigger than MSOE, right? Student wise.
Yeah, MSOE's got a little bigger, but I think like they were like 2,500. I mean,
Oh,
even,
yeah, we're way
even in MSOE's D3 conference, we were one of the smallest schools. I think we were bigger than like Marion and Rockford. Yeah, we had Rockford.
Average class size, my experience in Whitewater at a business finance school or a business school, I studied finance, was I would say 22 to 24. And I only had one lecture hall, Marketing
That's solid.
301. And that was an auditorium of like 450 kids, but that was only one
right,
class.
because there was probably a lot of overlap of majors
Correct.
with that.
And it's a business school requirement. I had some classes like Calc 1 for math majors because I almost majored in math because, surprise, I'm Asian. I think it was only like 12 kids in a Calc 1 class. And I got a lot of good, let's say, attention just because of that small school sizes. But
Right.
Marquette, other than Marquette being, it's a beautiful campus, but the issue with Marquette is it's in the ghetto. If you guys aren't from the Milwaukee area, it's scary.
I mean,
one block out.
there can be some shady areas
Yeah.
in the Marquette, but I mean, there's also really good parts. But I mean, yeah, MSOE, you're right in the center of downtown, and as like a freshman or a sophomore, you're not on Water Street yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you typically are, but you have a
Yeah,
fake ID.
well, I mean, if you're there, you're at the Qdoba. Let's
Yeah.
be honest, or the B Dubs or something like that. You're not
Doesn't exist anymore.
really.
I was really tilted.
I mean, that B Dubs in particular was the reason I stopped going to B Dubs.
Really? I like that one.
Well, I got a wingy that was
Wingy boy.
that was all bread. There was no chicken in it. I got a dough ball. So I was like, okay, whatever. These are poverty.
So for reference, MSOE, were you guys part of the NACC back then or no?
It was the NAC at the time, and then it turned into the NACC. So we always called it the non-athletic conference, and then it became the non-athletic crappy conference.
Okay. So it's a Division III school, and they have 8 or 9 other the men's tennis team.
It was I think there was 10
Okay.
in the conference.
And you guys are always top 4, if not maybe even top 2, depending on your 4 years there.
Yeah, so like going back like 2 years before I was there, and let's say I think John would have graduated 3 years after me. So we were top 2 regular season just about every single year. We didn't always finish second,
Sure.
but like the one time we got 4th, we went in. It was my senior year. We went in as the number 1 seed, and WLC, who was the 4 seed, ended up winning the whole thing. That's how close everything was.
But the top 2 were always you and Concordia.
I would say
Or Edgewood. Sorry,
for the-
Edgewood was strong back then.
So Edgewood was the newest addition. Well, I know they have a new school now. I can't remember what it is, but when I went there, it was the newest addition to the conference. I want to say my freshman year was the first time they were actually in the conference, but Concordia for the most part dominated it. Edgewood is much better now. They got 2 players who went to Edgewood High School who were both very, very good players. They played doubles together in high school, and
Palpatine and
Austin Papathy and Pat Lagman.
Lightman. Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice individuals.
Yeah, no, they're cool
them, yeah.
guys. But like that was Edgewood's issue at the time is they had some pretty good depth, but they didn't really have any like top end guys that could compete with the heavy hitters. Like Dominican had a very good one singles player. Concordia always had a very good one singles player. MSOE usually had a good one singles player, and then WLC at the time had Lee Johnson, who was obviously a very good singles player.
And it's one of those things where, like, unlike the UCLA's, Stanford's, Harvard's, these Division I powerhouses for men's and women's tennis, it's very, very important as a high schooler that wants to play some sort of college tennis. And granted, it's probably going to be Division III because we're all not Mackenzie McDonald, John Isner here. You have to understand the intricacies and the differences and then your ins and outs of everyday life as a regular student athlete that's never going to turn pro.
Right. Well, and the fact
With
that
studying.
you're not getting any scholarships. Like when it really comes down to it, it was someone, Kendra.
Yep.
I saw she made like a blog about Division III athletics. I thought it was actually very, very well written. I'm not going to
Summarize
say
it for me.
So basically, it was Division III athletes really have nothing to play for except their love for the sport.
Correct.
I'm not saying that D1 athletes
Don't love the sport.
right
Because
but-
they do.
Yeah, exactly. But they also have their scholarships. There has been some high level D1 guys that have gone pro. Probably a few more of them have professional aspirations.
Tennis or overall?
Tennis. I mean,
there's
other
a handful
sports.
of them.
I would say basketball is quite a few of them.
Yeah. No, but specifically in tennis, and obviously this podcast and the YouTube channel that's associated with this has always been about tennis. The chances of you going pro I might as well get struck by lightning twice and then win the lottery as soon as I get resuscitated the third time around. It's the unfortunate truth that unless you're playing tennis since you're 4 years old or you have some sort of connection, if you are not playing international tournaments by the time you're 14 or 15 and getting good results, your chances are very much zero of playing professional tennis.
Oh,
So why
absolutely.
not play for the love of the sport during college? Represent your college, your hometown, or whatever you want to represent, or maybe even yourself.
And what was big for me is, I never had it at South Milwaukee. There was this sense of camaraderie and that we could actually do something. So we had the fortune of being in a conference that, like, nationwide wasn't strong compared to other ones. So we had a nice little big fish small pond scenario of, if we won our conference tournament, it was an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament, where
Good luck.
then we would get smoked. Whoever went there got smoked. I don't know of anyone from our conference that actually won a match. I think Concordia one year got close at a doubles match, but it's like it's about the experience of getting there. But the secondary thing for me was, you made lifelong friends, at least in my scenario. I mean, every one of but two of the guys in my wedding, every other one was a college teammate of mine. So it's like
It's 4 years you spent with them.
right.
Now, what about, let's say, okay, so did you always know that you're going to be an HVAC engineer?
No. So MSOE does a pretty good job of, so you start with, let's say you want to be architectural.
Sure.
You do a lot of your general courses. You get the calcs and the physics and the chemistries, thank God, out of the way.
Sounds like you're a fan of physics.
No, I liked physics and
chemistry.
didn't like chemistry because chemistry just doesn't make sense to me. I always joke with my wife that that's why she likes it. Physics does make sense, and that's why she doesn't like it. She always tells me not to logic her.
Logic rules the world, but okay.
So you did a little more gens sophomore year, but then you started getting into, there was essentially three routes you could do, specialties, if you will. So you had structural, you had electrical, and you had mechanical.
Where does HVAC fall under?
Under mechanical,
How is that not structural?
because duct does not hold up buildings.
So structure is
Beams, basically
okay.
the skeleton of the building.
Got it.
And electrical, it's not like, oh, you're programming circuit boards or whatever. I probably said that wrong because I'm ignorant when it comes to that. But you're more so like the power of the building, the lighting systems, making sure the elevators are working, that type of stuff.
But small aside though, I've heard that these graphic card companies like Nvidia and AMD, AMD, they actually hire electrical engineers to make and design graphics cards. That's a small side. Again, I'm a business finance academia, but I'm a programmer. But I've heard, because I'm in that realm, that electrical engineers actually design graphics cards. But as you stated, at least in the context of MSOE, it's more electrical stuff for the building.
Well, yeah, there's two different, like, you go, what basically we call it EE or AE electrical.
What's
So architectural engineering with a specialty in electrical building systems versus just a straight up electrical engineer.
So what's nice about MSOE, if you guys aren't familiar from the Milwaukee or the Midwest area, MSOE is probably the perfect example, other than maybe Madison, but obviously it's two different scales. Madison, Wisconsin, the mother school of the Wisconsin State School, Wisconsin college programs. MSOE integrates is literally, as Eric said, in downtown Milwaukee.
Right.
Like, it's insane. The main party street for these high schoolers and these college kids is right on MSOE's campus block.
Yeah, it's quite literally in the backyard of the fitness center.
Yeah. Gorman?
No, that's the Groman Museum. You're thinking of this,
Just the G,
the
right?
Kern Center.
Oh, Kern. I don't want to say Gorman. So when you think of a well-integrated college or university, whatever you want to call it, MSOE is a perfect example because everything's there, literally everything.
Well, right, because
Except
you
for-
can get a shuttle to the Brewers games. You're in walking distance of the Pfizer Forum where the Bucks play. You are in shuttle distance from Summerfest, which is one of the largest music festivals in the world. You got the lake right there. You got all these restaurants. I mean, Milwaukee. I didn't mind Milwaukee because I always called it a sleepy city. Like it's fairly large, but it just doesn't feel crazy like Chicago does.
And that's why I moved here instead of Chicago.
Yeah, for sure.
And also the money.
Money.
So I would argue, though, one of the downsides of having a university like that as a tennis player in the Midwest is tennis courts. To get a tennis court is an absolute bitch. So how did that happen with your tennis coach and your tennis program, along with scheduling a trimester schedule of not exactly the easiest major to graduate from, and balance that with being a very competitive, if not one of the top teams in your conference?
I mean, it was tough because I always said that, like, with other colleges, I won't name because I don't want to assume things, but like, let's take colleges that have more of a generalist approach to their majors. Like,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
right? And maybe people, you can get a bunch of your gen eds done, and you don't really have to declare. And some people decide what they want to do during college. People switch majors all the time.
Oh, yeah. But average is like 5 or 6, right? Over a 4-year period.
Right. So with MSOE, you have engineers there that happen to play a sport. You don't go there for athletics and then, oh, I'm gonna pick what engineering degree I'm gonna try to get. Like that one doesn't work out.
And if you look at some of these NFL, NBA players or these professional actual athletes that you see on ESPN, they don't exactly, very few of them, I would say, have majors such as engineering, such as anything STEM related. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
And props to them for they do. And I do know a few NFL players that are childhood friends of mine that are getting on their NBA program. He played for the Jets. I think he was second string lineman. I'll tell you more about him later. His name's, well, he's a public figure, so I don't mind. Emmett Clary.
Oh.
He's one of the smartest guys I know. He just happens to be an NFL lineman, but more on that later.
Yeah. So in terms of the difficulty of balancing it, so we were fortunate that our coach at the time had a deal worked out with the elite sports clubs, and I mean
that's a topic in itself. But
more on that later.
Next episode.
But I mean, honestly, it was just a lot of times once it got nicer out and you have to get accustomed to playing outside, it's what's open, because we circulated throughout the elite sports clubs. We would play at Lake Park, McKinley, Whitefish Bay sometimes.
Cahill or the Henry Clay Street courts?
Cahill.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really nice area.
It's a nice area, but the courts are garbage because there's like dents and cracks and stuff in Cahill. I was there yesterday.
Are you thinking of Riverside or are you thinking of
Cahill.
Oh, really? I didn't know. But yeah, Riverside was an option.
Yep.
So it was really just like our coach, because he had a bit of a unorthodox career. Like he would cater like weddings and stuff. He's a very, very good cook.
Yeah.
So he had time throughout the day to kind of scope out, and like our captain sometimes would be like, "Hey, you're playing here tonight."
But the issue is, even when it's nice outside, there's only Riverside, McKinley, Lake Park. Those are the only 3 that could hold somewhat of a full men's team practice that's considered Milwaukee downtown proper.
Yes, I do think that Milwaukee, just seeing how popular McKinley is all the time, is kind of lacking in quantity.
And McKinley's beautiful. Sorry. McKinley atmosphere is beautiful. It's right on the lakefront, right across the street. There's a Collectivo. And as long as it's not past 9 p.m., I feel safe as hell. And you see people walking their dogs. You see people running. You see families going for strolls, which is kind of rare for downtown. But again, it's during the daylight. And again, it kind of gets crazy at night. There might be an occasional pew-pew every now and then. But the issue with McKinley is that there's only 6 courts, right? When I say only, wait till I go down the list. Issue number 2, their lights now are complete garbage. They're
Really?
trash.
I haven't played at night there in like years, but
Okay, then no, they installed new lights 3 years ago. It's worse now. We'll play there sometime.
okay.
Number 3, because the atmosphere is so popular, 6 courts really doesn't seem like it's enough. I mean, obviously it's like hailing, raining, sleeting, tornadoing today in April 22nd of 2023. But once June comes around, like on a Saturday at like 1 p.m., there's gonna be like a backup line of 6 people wanting tennis courts because it's so perfect,
Right.
right? And the 4th point, the courts themselves are garbage.
Yeah, and that's why I stopped playing there in
Yeah.
the first place. Is they got dead spots up the wazoo now. I like how when you're talking about the weather, you said 2023, like the year.
I don't know. I always say the year.
And 1966 is just a damn scorcher out there.
I always
tell you.
I always say the year. That's probably the programmer part of me. But yeah, I think like there's out of the 6 courts, 3 of them have dead spots like between the single sideline and the doubles alley, where if
very
you hit it,
opportune.
it just stops like that Prince of Tennis season 1
I
episode
know
2.
it's
The drop shot that
when
sticks.
he's hooking him in the drop shot. Is that out? Nani?
I gotta do a Prince of Tennis live action.
Oh
remake.
yeah,
That'd be
you should do that with the.
blood.
He hit it where?
Just the worst dubs. But thankfully, Elite Sports Club was a lot more manageable and accessible back then, and much more well run. Thankfully, your coach, he's in Florida right now, right?
I believe he's still in Florida.
He's
yeah.
been around for a bit at MSOE. He's been a Milwaukee area guy for a while. He has a
Yeah.
son that played high level D1 or D2 tennis.
D2, and then he was a coach at USM for a number of years as well.
Really?
Yeah, he has the one of the best distinctions in the world. He is. I'm gonna be careful with my words now.
Yeah.
He is to date the only male to play in the women's draw of Wimbledon, and there's a loophole to this.
Can you tell me the loophole?
His mother was a professional tennis player who was pregnant with him during Wimbledon, so he's like, oh yeah, I played.
So when how far along was she?
You know, somehow that never came up. I didn't ask what trimester she was in.
Yeah, I'm assuming she wasn't.
I can't imagine it was third.
She can't be breaking her water between changeovers.
Right.
I didn't know that his mom played at Wimbledon. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's where he gets his tennis. It
Background
wasn't necessarily his dad. His dad's still.
As far as I know, his mom was professional, and that's where
Okay.
he got.
I always
his
thought it was the
chops
dad. I always thought it was the dad.
from. Yeah, so he'd been around. He'd been around for a while, but do you want me to get back to? I'm still at freshman year of college, or do you want to?
Did you, because of the adjustment schedule and your workload and the difficulty of it, how did you adjust?
Yeah. So basically, I adjusted. I would say spring trimester. You got fall, winter, and spring trimester.
Not the pregnancy trimester, but semester, and then there's trimester.
I mean, it was tough, man. I was lugging all this weight.
It's
kicking.
2023 now. You don't know. You want a Bud Light?
So, anyways, spring trimester and fall trimester of sophomore year. I never studied in high school. I didn't really need to.
Good luck.
And I adjusted by failing, essentially.
Yes, you.
I didn't fail any classes, but I got put on academic probation.
So it's a 4.0 GPA scale?
Correct. And there's no like A plus or A minuses. You got A, B, 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 C, and so on until you get down to D. There's no DF. There's just, if you get anything under a 70, it's failing. And I think I got like if you get under a 2.0, you get put on academic probation.
And that's where you were at.
I got a 1.9 my sophomore.
And you said it wasn't any specific classes, it was just an overall aggregate.
Oh no, it was 2 specific classes that I just shit the bed on. And they were known to be hard classes, and one in differential equations, it was known to be a very, very difficult professor. So that was when I'm like, I'm gonna have to learn how to study if I'm going to make it out of here, because that definitely was a wake up call. And it just, I mean, MSUE was always very good about, school first, athletics second. So there'd be times where it's like, yeah, you got to study for a test. You're not going to practice. But a lot of times it came down to just doing crap I didn't want to do. Studying, a lot of times in college, you wait till like nothing's happening. You're studying at like, 1 a.m. because you're a degen at this point. And sometimes it would be, I know I have tennis from 8:30 to 10. I'm going to have to do some studying at like
PM, is that typically what happened?
Yeah.
I like that though. I like
We didn't practice.
nighttime practice.
Yeah, it was good and bad. I mean, sometimes waking up for 8 a.m.s, which like now being in the construction industry, like, oh, I couldn't wake up at 8 a.m. I like,
Well, you're up at like 5:15 in the morning now, right?
yeah, pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's nothing
I'm
to you.
5:15, then I'm at the gym by 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it really came down to I didn't need to start balancing my tennis with school. I needed to start balancing my school with my tennis. Because freshman year I played 4 singles.
Good for a freshman. I mean, you made the lineup, you made the
Right.
team.
I went undefeated, but a lot of it was like, I was
Conference or overall?
conference.
Okay.
Yeah, I would get destroyed by like
Gustavus.
well, yeah. No, like Eau Claire and stuff. They would handle me pretty good, but yeah, I think I was basically challenged like one time because we had such a deep lineup. Like the top 3 guys, 2 of them were seniors, were all definitively better than I was.
Dustin was one of them, right?
Dustin was one of them. Juan Diego
Juan, yep.
Montenegro, which tell me you've heard of a guy that's name rhymes with itself before.
75% of Spanish names.
Name one.
Juan Carlos Ferrero.
Yeah, because Juan Carlos Ferrero
Rolls off the tongue.
it rhymes with itself.
Rolls off the tongue. He's
Some
a really
.NET linguistic skills
shout out to Brian and Giga.
to Brian.
But he was a really smart guy, I heard.
He was a
Or
structural.
is too.
True. His brain didn't fall off.
Yeah, right.
And then Mark Shadler, who I believe went over to Germany after he graduated.
Big lefty, right? That's what I was-
No, small righty.
Who's Dustin's partner? I thought it was a Mark.
So he would sometimes play with Mark. We'd kind of mix and match. It changed throughout the years. Dustin's normal partner, who he did very, very well with,
He's the big
he
lefty.
was big
Okay.
lefty, big topspin forehand. He was ineligible, unfortunately. Otherwise, honestly, I probably would have played 5.
Was he partying too much?
No, he ended up transferring.
Okay.
I don't think he got to, and this happens, you get to MSU and you realize like, I don't enjoy this. And a lot of times it's just
In college too, yeah. As you said.
it's just getting past those first 2 years of the gen eds and getting into the stuff that you actually like. But we got second in conference that year to Concordia. And we got they had our number. I think they beat us in the final like 7-2 or something like that. And they were all relatively close doubles matches. And then
But you won, right?
I did not. So when I played Concordia the first time, I was still playing 5. I played 5 for like the first 3 matches, and then we did a challenge match, and I beat the guy who was playing 4 pretty handily.
Okay.
So I played a different guy. I don't know if you care if I say his name or not. So I played this guy, Skip Turner.
Skip.
Yeah.
Heard about him, but
So he,
Okay.
tall guy. I would say more of a natural doubles player, but I would say he was a generalist in terms of his skill set. Like he had good volleys. He wasn't like a speedster, but he was athletic enough, and he just had a very good high, deep ball. And because like he was so tall, he didn't have to like swing super hard, and he clapped me. He destroyed me like 3-1, and that was a big wake up call for me because it's
so
like
it made you better.
I would say so because we proceeded to have a pretty good rivalry for the next 2 years. after
Rivalries
that.
are good.
Yeah. Well, and it just became like, oh, if I'm going to play at a high level in this conference, I just got destroyed by the 4th best guy on the team that I will inevitably need to beat.
But you also have to forgive yourself because you're a freshman.
So is he.
Fair point. Okay.
Yep, their three singles was a freshman too, and it's like these guys aren't going away. You have to learn how to beat them.
Well, you could either try to, blackmail them so they go to jail or transfer out of Concordia, or beat them. Your choice.
Yeah, so
Some
I picked the lame option. So sophomore year, I played 2.
That's
and
a big jump. That's a very big jump.
And I made a huge jump in terms of my skill level because Dustin still lived in the area, and him and I probably played singles matches like 2 or 3 times a week, every week.
And he played 1.
It switched between him and Juan.
So, okay. So it was you 3.
It was a rock, paper, scissors at the
Okay.
top, to be honest.
Okay.
But I think our final lineup ended up being Juan, Dustin, Mark, me were the top 4.
Your sophomore year? Or, sorry, this is your freshman year?
Freshman year.
Okay. Now going to your sophomore year.
So we would play at the Village Club near where Greendale plays.
Who got access there? Dustin?
Well, they have their set of free courts as well. So like there's like what's technically the Village Club, which you have to be a member for, and I just call it that. It's probably not actually called that, but there's the set of courts that's basically
in the same lot.
Adjacent.
Okay, that's
the ones you
I've been
can
there
see
before.
from the freeway or the road super easily.
That's a big road too, I think. I forgot.
Yeah,
what it was called.
I think it's 76. It is 76th
Okay,
Street.
yeah.
So we would play 2 to 3 times a week, every week, full matches, and he, would destroy me most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the end of the summer, it was 50-50. I'd start beating him a little more. It's a little fuzzy, but basically, big boy improvement.
This was between freshman and sophomore year.
Correct.
Okay, because I think Dustin did take a 5th year.
He did, but he
Rest in
wasn't
peace.
eligible to play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that would have been cool if he was. So that made me take my first big leap in terms of skill because I was dealing with a guy who had a very big serve, and I'd probably credit him most for getting my return to where it is now, because that's pretty much like what I'm known for is big returns. I don't miss too many of them. And his serve was big, high topspin kicker, so it's like I got used to hitting high forehand and jumping backhand returns. So
Dustin's 6'4", by the way.
thank
3?
you. I didn't know.
Yeah. Just for context.
Oh, that's right. We're on a podcast, aren't we?
Yeah.
Just kidding. So going into that, Juan was the only member of that top 3 that was left over from the previous year. And like the first couple times I played Juan, I beat him in challenge matches.
He's a weird play style singles player. He doesn't hit that hard from what I recall.
No,
He's more finesse.
He is very finesse. He had great touch volleys, and pretty much he was another guy too. He was 6'4", and if he got to the net on you, it was probably over.
Yeah.
And he had a big serve too, relatively quick, but I was more steady from the baseline on both sides, where I'd start picking on his backhand and basically prevent him from getting to the net. And this is probably a reason why I generally like playing people who come to the net, is I really got that low, force the guy to hit a dipper return down, even if he puts it in. Now he's floating one up to me at service line or a service box level that I can just caveman it from there. So our coach wanted to do, though, is Juan was, let's put it this way, he could have a bit of a low floor, but he had a very, very high ceiling.
I heard that from Dustin as well, where he would have some big wins, but I'm like,
Yes.
how the hell did you lose to this guy?
He was Lee's lone loss his freshman year.
Okay.
And Lee came in from the start, like guns blazing, like, oh, he's him. He's arrived.
Yep.
And then my coach told me, he's like, well, I think you're probably a guaranteed win at 2, which is like, I wasn't so sure, because guess who was playing 2 for Concordia? Skip Turner. And you better believe that I had that marked on my calendar. And
Rocky montage of just
yeah, right. Yeah. Me running up the steps to B-dubs.
4 raw eggs in the morning.
Oh God. So it was kind of the same thing where I was like, I was kind of creaming everyone at 2.
Yeah.
And then I played Skip, and I won the first set. He came storming back in the second set, though, and took that. And
Do you guys play it out, or is it a 10-pointer?
it depends. So ultimately, it would be decided by the coaches and the players. Like they'd ask them, and like Skip and I both wanted to play a full third because it was a very good match.
Yeah, that's what a true tennis match should be.
Right, exactly. So, he's a good guy, so I don't want to, like, his teammates would make fun of him. He had and I'm one to talk. He had a bit of a meltdown when I got up like 5-3 in the third set.
Meltdowns happen, yeah. Was it bad though? Like on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 meaning...
The other guys in Concordia called it the meltdown.
Okay, so
it's
it's
like-
9.5.
Yeah, you know,
All right.
they may even put a "the" on there.
The meltdown. Okay.
So long story short, 'cause I don't really want to get into the details. his coach gave him a point penalty when I was up 4.
Steve?
No, Steve wasn't there.
Oh, Tom.
I think that was his name.
Older gentleman.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
He gave him a point penalty when I was up 5-3, 40-15.
Wait, that's how it ended?
That's how it ended.
How was the handshake? Dead fish?
Oh, he told me a really good match. But
Okay, good, good. At least that's respectful
He
towards
wasn't
you.
as nice to his racket. I think
Just one
his racket ended up outside the fence.
Lake Park?
No,
McKinley?
this is at McKinley.
Tree?
No, Dustin got us stuck in a tree though.
That was Dustin. Okay.
Yeah, so some guy who didn't play in the lineup had to climb up the tree and go get it. Yeah, so like he was cordial. He told me good playing and whatever. Like he's a competitor, but he was nice to you at the end of the day.
Well, that's how it should be.
Exactly.
You need to have a chip on your shoulder, not to disrespect your opponent during a match, but after the match, give the guy a handshake.
Right.
It's competition.
It was a very good match.
Yeah.
Well, and then fast forward to conference finals again, us versus Concordia. Skip again. He got me this. I'm pretty sure he beat me like 5-6. Very good match.
I mean, yeah, that's not, even though it's not a split set, I mean, that's as tight as you could possibly get. I mean, maybe
Right.
2 tie breaks instead of just 1 at the
Exactly.
end of each set.
Yeah, and I fell apart at the end too. I remember he had a net tape clipper that went over my backhand volley.
Call it out.
It was like it didn't matter. I mean, at that point, my volleys were so trash at that point because I hadn't played like one doubles or anything yet that I probably would have choked and missed it anyways. But then, yeah, he started coming into the net. He adjusted well because he knew don't slug with him from the baseline.
Yeah.
Which it's like anyone who plays me knows slugging from the baseline with me is generally not a very good idea unless you're just like another level higher than me. You have to give me junk balls and mix it up.
I know.
Oh yeah, I know.
So that's even though you lost, you as an individual lost. Was this the final of conference?
It was the final conference.
You improved dramatically, and so did he to an
Right.
extent, right?
Yeah,
But good for you from getting destroyed, 2 and 3 or whatever you
something like that. It was bad.
said, to beating him.
Yep.
And then giving it to him, but still losing in the second
Exactly.
time you played him yourself.
It was kind of crazy because like I had a little more catching up to do than he did, but like
Good.
the next year in, how we both end up at the same level. Because I would definitely say freshman year, he definitely had the edge on me. I think I would-
given the score.
like we're right, yeah. Like I never like to say, oh, would you beat this guy? I always like to do how many times out of 10 would you beat this guy?
Ooh, I have a different philosophy on that. Why not just play the guy?
Well, right. I'm saying with guys you do and don't play, because like I only played Skip once my freshman year.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, how many times if we played again, because tried different tactics, make a forehand approach shot once in a while.
God
and
forbid.
I honestly, I would say like I'd maybe beat him like 1 or 2 times out of 10. I
Back
think-
then,
yeah,
in freshman year.
freshman year for sure.
And then obviously-
versus sophomore, I would say it was probably as close to
50-50.
5 and 5
Yeah.
as it possibly.
I think that's fair given the score line
Yeah.
sophomore year. So that was a huge jump between freshman and sophomore year. Sophomore to junior year, what was the difference? What was the training during this off season? What was that like for you?
Well, I met a lot more people. I met you that summer.
Was that your junior year
Yeah.
or
So,
going into your junior year?
going into my junior year.
Okay, so that was
And-
2012 summer.
Yes.
Yep.
And the other thing that I credit a lot is that was my second year of state league, and
So that did help.
that did help.
And it was
because
fun.
I would play doubles with Dustin. I don't know if you remember that. You were at one singles and Dustin and I would play one doubles.
I don't recall too much of that.
You were probably hammered.
No, I don't drink I rarely drink and play tennis. But
That's when you had your cats.
I know, right? Rest in peace, Nickel and Yodel. But anyway, I just got out of college. I was meeting people, so
Yeah.
and you had longer hair back then too.
Oh God, don't remind me. Yeah, I had.
Yeah.
Everyone said, "Oh, you had the Biebs hair." It's like, dude, I had that shit since '09. Biebs had my hair.
Okay.
Rant over because it really mattered. So yeah, I played a lot more doubles. Still played Dustin a lot. Started playing you.
Yep.
A couple other guys from Waukesha I'd play a lot.
I can't believe that was your second state league.
Yeah, that was only year 2. And I would say, and I believe this wholeheartedly in general, that doubles helps your singles and singles helps your doubles.
Oh, 100%. You'd be mentally ill to not agree with that.
Right. And playing a lot more doubles, I thought actually helped my singles because my volleys improved.
How to close, how to return.
Right. Approach shot. Yeah, because I think returning in doubles is exponentially harder than it is in singles.
Yeah, because you can't just poop it.
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise, your partner, who shall remain unnamed, or may not be a doubles match out there where I did that, would just get destroyed.
Oh, I wouldn't know given your shorts.
I pumped those out.
I had to throw that. You didn't include my tweener in the shorts. I'm still salty about that.
I don't know why.
I know
I'll
why
double
you
check.
didn't, because you didn't hit it. No, you had a lot of stuff to sort through and finding all this stuff. You found some good ones.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, junior year is just a lot more match play, a lot more doubles, and then this is when Pat and Austin came into the conference. I don't think Austin, something with his transfer, something like that.
Okay.
He didn't play what would have been my junior year, so I played Pat. And the first time I met those guys, and I wish they still did this. Maybe they do it again now. But they had a preseason tournament at Nielsen Center in Madison,
That's a cool idea.
which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had that's how we met these guys. Because it's like Edgewood would be like, yeah, their one singles is usually mid, but like would get destroyed by the top 4, which generally, well, now that Lee was in the fold, would be me, Lee, Russ Johnson, and I would say Kevin Amarantos.
Kevin, that's an Illinois school, because he was in my
Dominican.
conference.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was like a mini Fed,
Yeah.
where he looked like Fed. He had
he
that
had the
vibe.
long
Yeah.
hair. He chopped it all off, I think, his
did.
junior year though.
It's funny because like I remember him. I think he was a very talented junior.
Yeah.
I was 4 or 5 years older than him. I think that's
That
the
sounds
correct
about.
timeline.
Well, he was a freshman my freshman year too, and he was playing one singles and got second in conference. So it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
another guy then.
Yeah, that's another guy. Geographically, he's a little further away,
Yeah.
obviously. Which really, I mean, that's how conferences work. But it was cool, like me seeing him in high school, or maybe juniors around the junior circuit, or at least watching him. I'm like, oh, that's the same guy. And then we were talking. It's just a small world
Right.
when it comes to small college D3 tennis in the Midwest.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
just
I know
cool.
you run into those people all the time.
Yeah.
Well, like
That's
I
why you can't be
remember-
a complete asshole to someone
right.
all the time. Sometimes it's fine.
Well, it's funny you said it because it was kind of the same thing between Lee and I.
Yeah.
Is I randomly played him in high school, but I had an Achilles injury at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to forfeit. He was up like 3-1. He
Yeah.
probably would have beat me. He was much better than
I
me.
think he's been playing tennis longer too at that
Yeah,
point.
he
too.
started younger.
Yeah.
And, but anyways, like I went to just randomly playing him in high school, and then all of a sudden he's at Wisconsin Lutheran, and then like fast forward, it's like we're playing state league doubles together. We went to each other's weddings. It's awesome.
And he's your financial advisor, is that?
No.
No, okay. But he does have a financial advising business. And still in the Milwaukee area.
Yeah.
He's married now too.
Yep.
I don't know where
I don't know exactly. He was in downtown for a while. I don't think
he was downtown for a while. And then I think he got married and
I
smart
don't
people
think
moved
they're
out.
there anymore. I don't know. But
But he's number one WLC Wisconsin Lutheran College player all 4 years, I believe,
and he's by far their most winningest player
of
like,
all time.
Yeah.
At number one singles.
Because they were the joke of the conference before Lee got there, and then they were the joke of the conference plus Lee Johnson, and then they started getting some transfers in, and
Yep.
all of a sudden, like they had
Ryan, Derek, who are obviously solid D3
Yep.
college players in the lineup.
yep,
So your junior year had a lot more competition, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Right? And you're playing number one.
I was playing number one at this point, and I was training hard, and I came into that preseason tournament just guns a blazing. So what they did, and this was smart because there was only, I'll say there was only 6 schools there. So what they did,
That's a good turnout though for
right. So what they did is
unofficial thing.
they would put higher level 2 singles players into the 1 singles bracket, and then so on and so forth.
a volunteer, or was it just at the director's
No,
discretion?
the coaches went together. I mean, they knew like Concordia was very deep, so they knew that like
Yeah.
okay, Skip was playing 2 for them, but everyone knew that like okay, at a lot of other schools, Skip would play 1.
I'm surprised they don't do. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I know. I was mad that they only did it 1 year and then got rid of it. So
What was it? Do you know the reason?
I don't know.
Okay. I would argue it should be played outside, but that's just my opinion.
It took place in the fall,
Oh. So
it would
just
be
before
it would
the
be a
season.
crapshoot.
Sorry, I thought you meant preseason, like before the fall season. Because boys, at least in my experience for D3 men's tennis, there was like a short fall season where you
Right.
still play outside.
So we didn't play in matches during our fall season, but we would do a bunch of captains practices. So they put this in there as kind of like a
Okay.
introductory for people in the conference or what have you. I mean, it was just fun too. So I think they put Skip in the 1 singles bracket, and then they put Pat Lagman in the 1 singles bracket as well.
Good.
And guess who my opponent first round is? Skip Turner.
Okay.
And everyone was laughing about it too, because it's just like we always played each other.
Yeah.
And it was that time I beat him like 2 and 3.
Because of your off training and state league,
And
getting
just
with people
lessons with
your level.
Scott, still toning back my ground strokes. A big thing for me was realizing that you can get the job done by hitting your 60% shot.
No shit.
Yeah, right. I know. It was. I told you I learned tennis backwards. Usually people like get the ball and then put more pace on it. Mine was just like, yeah, and then like chill out, dude. And then I think I lost to Pat in like a 3-set tiebreaker. But then
Pat's a hell of a player too.
he is
from what I recall.
very, very athletic. Like I'm pretty sure he could dunk in high school, and he's like shorter than me.
He's shorter than me, I think.
No, he's not.
Lagman?
Yeah.
We'll check.
Okay. I don't know. Depends on what shoes you're wearing. Because you're what, like 4'11", right?
5'2" on a good day.
Good day. Yeah. Depending on how much you spike your hair up.
So during your actual season, your junior year, what happened during conference? So you're playing 1 now.
Yes. So
Good record, bad record.
no, I believe I went 7-2. My losses were I lost to Lee like 4-4, something
Okay.
like that. I infamously whiffed an overhead on his match point and then screamed, "I hate Mother Nature," which my mom and everyone in my immediate family still give me crap about. It's honestly the one thing that like embarrasses me. That's like, oh man,
Your parents?
no.
Oh, that
the fact
incident.
that I just started dating my wife at this point, and I screamed that in the middle of the match, and it's like, my wife's wondering like, are these always like this? Like, no, your boyfriend's just a psychopath.
As a non-tennis player, female first dating, I could imagine that's a very confusing, or
Yeah.
as what they call it, an ick moment.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
Surprised she still stayed with you and gave you a chance.
These TikTok trends. Yeah, so I lost to Lee, and then I lost to Russell. You know
Yeah,
Russell.
very interesting game style. One of the nicest guys I ever met.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
I
like, it's
absolutely hated him on the tennis court because it's like, dude, he's serving like 26 miles per hour and he can't hit a normal forehand, but he's destroying me because he's the fastest guy I've ever played in singles.
So Russ at Concordia won, right?
Yeah,
And then Skip is 2.
yeah.
So this guy makes Fabrice Santoro's strokes look conventional. And the fact that, as Eric said, he'll hit 1 ace every 3 years, and it's probably because of a line skip.
He would
or a
occasionally
rock.
go for one if he was
Really?
up 40 love. He would like volleyball spike.
But he also played football and hockey at Concordia on top of tennis.
He was a 3-sport college athlete.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
he hit and he's a righty. He hit his backhand with his left hand on the throat, where I believe his index or middle finger was like curled on the throat, where the throat becomes the
Oh,
handle.
yeah, he choked up
Yeah.
super hard.
I'm
but
like, what is?
you
But
play
he
him in a
wins.
set. He is
He
infuriating
wins.
to play.
Like, what the hell? Like, what is
I
going
always
on
said
here?
Russ doesn't play tennis. He just goes on a tennis court and wins matches.
I would be shocked if he ever took a private lesson or any lesson in tennis in his life.
Probably not, but he is by far the best athlete I've ever played against.
Figures it out. Just figures it out.
Yeah, he was insane, absolutely insane. So then junior year, we're at Concordia again. And
I actually like those courts. They're nice and slow.
No. We weren't at Concordia, I should say. Those courts, I don't think were even refurbished yet. We would always play a conference at
Nielsen. No.
No, at this point, I still believe it was at
Kohler?
Kohler, yeah,
Okay.
Kohler Center. That's a great place. I love that place. Sports Core.
Yeah, I like it because you could see almost all 6 courts except for maybe the last half of the first, or the first half of the first and the last half of the second. It's a nice viewing area.
They had that.
They have a nice
like
bar,
Pleasant
too.
Valley has that. Like whenever you have that long mezzanine, it's always great for watching.
Pleasant Valley is still the best though because you could actually see.
Right, it goes the entirety.
Everything, yeah.
Mequon Elite's actually got a very good viewing area too. Unless if you're on the far right of the furthest, or like the larger bank, every other one I think is pretty good because I think it's like 4 or 6 on one side and then 2 on the other side.
I just wish that the ones overlooking the right side of the big bank had a ledge instead of like an actual window.
Right.
But you could still see it. But
right.
Anyway.
So we lost again. I'm pretty sure against Russ, it was probably like 2-3, 3-3, whatever. But it was like I missed 18 bajillion overheads. But it's like that's what he does. It's like I clearly have to hit this dead on the line, and otherwise he's gonna get to it. He's gonna lob me, and then I'm gonna cry. And that's usually how Russ matches would end up. He'd make you feel like no matter how good of a shot you hit, it's just like lulls every single time.
So what about the conference tournament your junior year?
So we lost to Concordia again.
Semifinals?
No, it was the final again. 3 straight years I went in second to Concordia, second to Concordia, second to Concordia. And we never would beat them during the regular season. I might win individually, but their teams were just too deep. Like their 5 and 6 singles would just annihilate ours.
Was Steve there at the time or no?
Steve graduated the year before I got there.
Steve Anschutz, the Concordia coach.
Oh, as a coach?
Because he's done a phenomenal job recruiting. I just don't know if this was his work, though.
I think he wasn't coach there until maybe my senior year.
Okay, so it was the next year.
Yeah. So it was like, okay.
Somehow Tom Weber, the coach, somehow got these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Concordia did a pretty good job recruiting, but like kind of alluding to what I was saying before, they were a bit, in terms of majors, more of a general school. Or I think you also do have majors that are a little more, what's the word? Inclined to be athletes. Like you get a lot of PT majors who are also athletes. Go figure.
Yes.
They want to work in athletics.
I don't know if they have a pre-med, though.
I don't think they do.
I know they have PT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
as I
knew
said.
a couple people in that. But it's like,
They have nursing.
right, exactly. And it's like, well, what's the stigma with engineers and athletics? Is like, well,
Negative.
esports.
Chess.
It's like, is Halo a sport?
The only software engineer, the only engineer I know from Concordia that graduated undergrad and also played tennis is Brian Tressiter. I think he played top 4. I don't know if he was.
He was the one singles like before I started getting to one.
Okay.
Redhead guy.
So he's
super nice guy.
Yeah, super nice guy. He's an Apple engineer. I don't know if
really?
he's still in there. Yeah, he codes in Swift, which is the Apple's native language.
I think he's from Michigan.
UP or Michigan proper. Okay, but yeah, you don't see a lot of engineer coming out of Concordia. It's, as you said, it's they have business majors, they have liberal arts majors, but they also have, as you said, PT majors.
Well, and just in general, they have a lot more majors
Yep.
than MSOE does. They're bigger than MSOE is. So it's like the stars kind of had to align for those, like the WLCs and whatnot. So going into senior year, it was kind of just more of the same of like, figuring stuff out. I would say my serve got better between junior and senior year. I actually learned how to hit a kick serve. I didn't know how to hit a kick serve until my senior year.
Slice.
Yeah, I'd just hit a slice serve, and then I'd kind of have like a, the short arm. When you get nervous, you're definitely going to double fault second serve. And I just won purely off of my ground strokes. So no preseason tournament. At this point, I know Austin is eligible to play for Edgewood, and he's going to be playing 1, and they're who we played first.
And Lagman was 2.
Lagman was 2, which, like,
I thought they were
holy crap if Pat Lagman's 2 for your
I
team.
thought they were interchangeable based on how he talked about both of them.
I think, well, when we did that preseason tournament, those 2 ended up in the final. I'm pretty sure Austin beat Pat in like 3 sets. It was super close.
Okay, so that's okay.
Yeah. So I played Austin, and like I had been feeling really good going into that match because we had some non-conference. Like that was when I barely lost to lacrosse.
Decent school,
I beat Eau Claire that year.
good school,
I destroyed Lawrence that year.
typically strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of good wins at this time. So I was coming in strong, and I think I beat Austin like 5-2.
So very big win.
Yes.
Top 3 of your college career, probably.
Yeah, I would say like
Skip was probably number 1.
so like during college proper and not like tournaments.
Yeah.
I would say that was in the top 3. I'd probably give Eau Claire number 1 because I lost the first set 6-1 and came back and won it. But the thing that was very important for me with that was we played in my junior year. We played in Gustavus's bubble, which I really enjoyed those courts.
ITAs or
No, it was just a match where we played Eau Claire and we played Gustavus's like C team, except like they would talk with our coach and be like, oh well, this guy you could probably. I think I played like their 7 singles and he beat me like 2-2. Yeah,
they have a no cut policy.
yeah.
case you haven't
Their 30th singles player beat Steve Smith.
Pissed.
No, I don't think Steve knows how to get mad, honestly.
Okay.
But it was like, I felt super bad for Steve because since this guy never got to play the entirety of Gustavus, oh my God, it was like being
like an
on a
army.
road- It was like being on the road in a NFL or something like that. Every time you won a point, they'd be roaring. It's like that. Steve comes in
soft-spoken.
as our 8th singles player. He's like, I was not ready for this today. But so anyways, I played the same guy from Eau Claire. And it was kind of like the same thing. We split sets. We're in a 10-point tiebreaker. And he hit a shot that I think may have been out that I called in, that he won 15-13 because of it.
Wait, this was his match point?
Yeah. And I couldn't see it.
Should've called it
I didn't
out.
want to I didn't want to maybe hook him, so I just gave it to him. And it's like that call haunted me like
How many days? How many nights?
at least 69.
Nice.
So I got to play that same guy senior year, and this time we went to a 10-point breaker again, and I beat him 10-8.
So
And that-
still super close.
That was probably a big thing for me was like I went from losing a bunch of super breakers to winning them. So anyways, going into the rest of the season, me and a lot of the WLC guys would talk. So like, they had been noticing I was getting some pretty big wins. And I believe during this time, Lee had lost to Austin. Maybe it was before or after he played me.
okay.
Lee and I played outside, wasn't great conditions. And I've always attested that, and I think a lot of his teammates said, Lee is a fantastic, awful weather player. He's very good at it because he's very smooth. His approach shots, he almost relies on them not bouncing very much and hits them smoothly. So you have to come up to the ball. And he had very, very good touch volleys. And he double bageled me. And that's how he got the nickname that year, the Bagel Man. Not the most creative one, but
McKinley?
Lake Park. I did not enjoy literally being the reason for his nickname.
How windy was it?
It was fairly windy. Like we were playing in like sweatpants and jackets. It was like one of those.
So mid-April, early April?
Maybe. Honestly, I'm trying to.
Okay.
It was probably somewhere around there. I mean, yeah. Look at April today. April 22nd, 2023, Mesozoic era. And so I was like, well, that took a turn. And then most of the rest of my senior season actually got derailed because I got a cyst on my tailbone.
Oh, that was okay.
That was the first time I got that. So I only played 4 matches my senior year. And then I had to work and like do some therapy because it's like it's basically you can't do anything athletically for like 3 weeks.
I recall.
And during that time too, I'm in senior design. I'm at the lab all day. I'm not eating well. So I probably gained like 15 pounds over that time. So I came in not in good shape. I came back against Aurora, beat their guy who's a pretty good player, but I was just pushing. I couldn't bend. I literally had a giant bandage covering my back that like I could feel like the adhesive like twinging when I'd hit it.
Was that when you cramped up in a match or?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. That wasn't something I apparently liked to do until after college.
Yeah.
But we go in with a number 1 seed, and WLC is the 4 seed, and
You play him in the semifinals.
yes, and David, my doubles partner senior year,
David G.
yeah,
Okay.
he, him and I lost to Lee and his partner the first time, and this time we beat them like 8-3. So we're going in with pretty good momentum. First set, it's like 3-4 with me and Lee, and a symptom of this cyst. So the cyst existed on what's called the vagal nerve, which is the largest nerve in your body that pretty much like runs like from your neck all the way down to your tailbone. And you can get what's called a vagal reaction. And what a vagal reaction is your body thinks it needs to expel something. So you get a lot of dizziness, you feel like you have to throw up, but you don't actually have to throw up, but your body's telling you like something's wrong because the biggest nerve in the body is irritated. And I started having that in the middle.
Dry heaving?
No, I didn't dry heave, but I was like profusely sweating, like way, way more than normal. And it's like I felt dizzy. And I think at that point, like I had beaten Lee before junior year, but like senior year, I would say at that point, maybe if I was still like in pretty good shape, but like the way the match was going, Lee was going to win anyway, so I don't want to take that away from him. But like from there, it was like 3-4, and I won 1 game after that. It was bad. I like literally
3-0 or 4-0.
I called a medical timeout in the second set, I think. So it was like 4-1 or something like that.
So as a team, you guys lost 4-5.
Yes, because it came down to like our 2 singles who beat their 2 singles last time lost in 3 sets. It came down to because we beat them 5-4 during the season, I think.
Well, still close.
So it comes down to 6 singles, who is in a third set 10-pointer.
Okay.
Our 6 singles is a freshman.
So he's nervous as hell.
Cannot imagine the pressure. And he had like a like heavy Western forehand, and like he had a no spin backhand. And it's like, well, if you don't have spin on one of your shots and you're in a pressure moment, good luck, because you're going to start not swinging out, and you're like, and that's all this guy started doing to him. Their 6 singles player, he wasn't a natural tennis player, but he was like 6'7", just huge guy. And he would just serve and volley every single time. He would serve and volley to our guy's backhand, and our guy was so nervous, I think he lost like 7-10 or something like that. And like,
so he was somewhat there, but
oh yeah, and like he was max. He beat him the first time, but it's like, what are you gonna do? You're up against a junior at 6 singles. Like I felt really bad for him. It's like, well, we lost 5-4. Like I could have not shit the bed at 1 singles. Our 2 singles, lost to a guy that he had normally beaten.
yeah, I don't think it's fair to like blame or congratulate the last match on for a specific thing, because
exactly you just happen to be the last one.
Now there's pressure.
It's like being mad that like, okay, maybe you lost a basketball game by 2 and some dude had a turnover in the last 20 seconds. Like, well, you guys also got outscored by 16 in the first quarter, so maybe just get outscored by 12 and you win the game.
Hey, maybe don't miss 4 free throws.
Right. So it's like there's nothing against him. It's like, I can't imagine if I was a freshman in that situation. I mean, you just heard it. I wasn't even the last match on, and I got destroyed in the conference finals my freshman year by someone that I would have considered like of equivalent skill level. So that was what what ended the college experience for me. It was a bummer. I was happy that WLC, that was their maiden championship. I was
Oh, they beat Concordia. Or is it?
yeah, they played Concordia in the final. And it was like it was just this weird moment that like we were packing up to head home. Concordia's getting ready to play, and it's like I'm saying bye to all these guys I may never see again. That like at the time, like I want to beat this guy, screw this guy on the tennis court. But like I remember Russ came up to me and like he was like, dude, like you had a great career, and it's like that meant a lot. That it's like these guys that you were trying to kick their ass for 4 years. At the end of the day, it's like sad to see you go.
Did you cry?
When we lost?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was yeah. Well, and part of it too for me was like it was this what if I didn't have that tailbone issue that derailed my whole season?
Mm-hmm.
What if I didn't gain 15 pounds and went into the finals as a chunk?
Mm-hmm.
I lost all the weight that summer. That was when I was living with you. When I had a job I didn't really care for, and I didn't learn how to be a good employee yet. But it was like, oh, get out
You're 22. It's fine.
and go play basketball for an hour and a half, go play tennis with you, and then work out. It's like, well, no shit, you got in really good shape at that point.
So overall, two questions. Did you regret going to MSOE / playing Division III tennis while getting a good education?
No.
Okay.
I was saying the way you phrase it too is like,
Well,
you played sports, you got a good degree, and you're successful. Did you hate it?
Well, the thing is, you could have played Division I at a very mid or crappy D1 school,
Yeah, I mean,
but probably would not have gotten a good education. Unless it's like
maybe depending on, or like the fact that it was also a place that was, my parents were living in Muskego at the time. So it's like, okay, a 35-minute drive. It was just kind of a match made in heaven, really. Like I met my best man there. I met my wife there. I met a bunch of my good friends there. So it got me in the foothold of the career I have now. So I mean, I would say for anyone on the fence about college athletics, don't give up before you try with it. At least see, some people have different levels of cognitive abilities when it comes to multitasking. I get it. But like, if it's something you like, not even just like, oh, I get to play a sport and have some funsies. Like there's people you'll meet that you would never normally meet. There's restaurants you'll go to. There's cities you'll visit. Like I would recommend it to anyone. And honestly, at the end of the day, I think it helped you prioritize, because now you have this thing with your schooling that you have to work around. So you have to be, I would argue, more disciplined as a student athlete. And MSU actually would routinely boast that the average GPA of student athletes was higher than the average GPA of your typical student.
Good.
And I would say that was a big part of it, is it, in a sense, force you to grow up.
And did it overall make you a better adult, you think? But that was kind of a leading question.
I would say so, because like I think something that's a little lacking nowadays is, and to me, like I guess if we're talking intangibles, the biggest thing with sports, that life lesson wise, is it gives you the experience of failing.
Yeah, you're gonna fail.
Yes, and I think that is so important. And failing in your career doesn't mean, oh, I got fired. It means you screwed up a project, or
You missed a deadline.
exactly. It's like, well, how do you respond? Do you give up? Do you crumble under the pressure? Or you've been here before. It might be a crappy night, but like, it does have some equivalency of, you're at 8-all on a super breaker. You have to have this drawing set out to the architect by 3 p.m. and it's 2:34.
Oh, we love those architects, don't we?
Yeah. Despite the name of my major, it doesn't mean I'm an architect. In fact, I'm usually, because I design ugly squares and cylinders, duct and pipe, that I'm an architect's worst nightmare a lot of the times, because I'm messing up the feng shui of their of the place. Like,
not a
well,
good vibe.
you want heat or not? Like, yeah, I know my crap's ugly, but like,
It works. Oh, the ick. Anything else you want to say before we close this long episode out?
How long was it?
We're at an hour, 20 minutes.
Okay, that was when I did the NBA podcast. We'd always be like into 2 hours, and it's like, how do we always? You just get lost in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're also telling your life story in tennis.
Yeah. I kudos to anyone who stuck around for that.
They will.
Huh?
They will.
They will?
Anything else?
I'm so touched. Yeah. Whoever Karen is in all of your YouTube comments is hilarious, and I hope he continues to do God's work.
He lives in Chicago. He's a project manager for an IT company. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah. I like how he makes fun of you.
Everybody makes fun of me. I make fun of me.
Yeah.
Everybody makes
Well, yeah.
All right, guys. Stay tuned for season 2, episode 2, coming up shortly. As always, guys, happy hitting.